Legally knowing how to clear your music is so important, and there's a lot of misunderstandings on this, so I am going to go through everything you need to know. I'm a real music attorney of almost 10 years, and this is stuff you don't want to miss, so be sure to keep watching. So I'm going to jump right into this, and we're going to start first and foremost with I just need you to understand the difference between a cover song and sampling. A cover song is a song that someone else did that you are now going to do your own version of. You're not using anything from their recorded version. You're not sampling. You're not using any vocals, drums, the instrumental, nothing. But what you are going to do is that you're going to do your own version using the same structure. And you're like, there's a verse and a chorus, and then a second verse and another chorus. And so you're still going to follow the same structure, but let's say instead of it being a rock song, you're going to make it a pop version. It's going to be great. That's great for marketing. But that's a cover song. When we sample, what we're doing is we're taking a little piece of the recorded song. The biggest thing you need to kind of keep in mind is understanding the source of the materials that you're using. Okay, so where did you get it from? So oftentimes when we are using other people's, let's say, beats, whether it's through a license or we're purchasing the song. And this unfortunately happened to one of my clients. He, got an instrumental and it was a pitched version of someone else's song. He was told that it had been cleared and it wasn't. And his song went viral. And so the great news about the song going viral is that he made a bunch of money and it became a famous, version and all the things. But the worst part is that, well, then Universal Music found out about it and now they're coming and demanding all the money and all the things. So just know if you are going to use someone else's beat, know the source of the materials and make sure that if there is, for example, something that you can hear in the song that sounds like someone else's song, that hopefully it's not a sample, and that, if it is, they got it cleared. But also remember that it doesn't have to be, and this is the caveat here, it doesn't have to always be the exact thing. This is the wrinkle, and this is where people get confused. You can do interpolations of someone else's songs, right? So you have Khalees's My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard, right? So Beyonce, on her last album, she did an interpolation of Khalees's song, which means she didn't use any actual part from the song, but she used a similar type of like beat and rhythm and styling and all the things. So she got an actual license for use of the song, essentially. So this is where you're going to become like a superhuman music attorney thinking artist, producer, music business owner, because I'm teaching you these differences and you probably want to save this video and watch it again later, because when you understand these distinctions, you're going to be unstoppable. All right. So that's number one, know the source of your materials. Number two, make sure you actually obtain proper clearances. So we're talking about clearance is key. Now, if you are doing a cover song, the clearance portion is so much easier. Just check for like the last video that I uploaded on Top Music Attorney YouTube talking about this, because the rules have changed a lot and doing cover songs has never been easier. That's not the same when it comes to sampling. Clearance is key, and you want to make sure you get a license agreement. Either, you have two options. You can buy the song if it's someone else's, right? Buy the right to use it, or you license it. And if you are licensing the sample, the instrumental, then get a license agreement into place. Okay. And when you do your licensing agreement, just know what it says. I have rap artists in particular who are just very astute with this. So just meaning like they're really smart, like they get the agreements, they kind of read through them, and then they'll usually run it by me. Just have someone that you trust, like an entertainment attorney, a music attorney, who can help you to understand this stuff. Because if you, again, like the client example that I use, if you have a song that does really well, that's using someone else's instrumental, and it turns out there was a sample in it that wasn't cleared, they're like, oh, actually, you have to renew it in 2 years. And then they try to like charge you something through the roof. Like the craziest stuff can happen, but you have to make sure you have the license agreement and know what it says. And sometimes we have to negotiate the terms. So then number three, let's make sure that if we are going to use royalty-free sources, you know your uses. Okay, so we have like Splice. This isn't even a like sample pack, because you can get free sample packs with all the things, and you may or may not be okay to use that in your music. But like Splice is a really good example, because a lot of music producers use that platform to get sounds and drums and all the things. And in the terms of use, there are restrictions. And so sometimes if you're like trying to sell your music later on or get placements in TV and film, you can run into problems because you used samples from platforms like Splice. So again, if it is royalty free or you are getting it kind of licensed in a sample pack or from a certain platform, I know it's a pain in the butt. I know no one wants to go and read, terms of service, but what I can at least say is that if you have a specific question about this, come over to Facebook on Top Music Attorney. I have a group specifically for like my students and my clients, and this is where you can just ask questions. So if you have a specific question about this and you're not sure and you're like, hey, I'm reading these things and I just don't know, come ask the question there and I'd be happy to answer that for you for free. Okay. Then what you can do is, you also can innovate. There are songwriters all the time who will get hired by artists and they'll be like, look, I can't pay for the sample. And this even happened to me. I was trying to clear a sample. It wasn't a money thing. It was that they just never responded. So I wasn't able to use the sample in my music because they just wouldn't respond. And that sucks. But anyway, whatever the reason is, sometimes it makes more sense to either take it out or just to remake it. I had this client doing a T-Pain inspired song, and he had basically used a similar type of instrumental, and he redid the top line as far as the words and the melodies and all the stuff. So he definitely wasn't going to get that cleared, and so I was just like, look, just kind of remake something. You have to be careful, it's not just an interpolation, and so you're going to get into trouble. But if I'm like, hey, I want you to make me a love song that kind of sounds like this and is kind of about this general topic, you can just make something new. And that's the good news. But obviously you have to be careful. All right. And then of course you're going to make sure you document everything, paper your agreements. If you have an agreement with someone, like not only do the agreement, but know what it says. If you're doing the deal and the producer is like overseas and you are never, ever going to be able to sue that person, get him in a court of law, get a judgment, go swipe his bank account, I don't know that I want you doing a deal with that person. No offense. But if you're going to drop 10 grand on an instrumental, make sure that it's with someone that you trust and that if there's a problem, you can actually take them to court. So these are all things, again, super musicpreneur brain that we're building for you so that you can really stay ahead of the curve and protect yourself. But make sure you document everything. So, besides the actual contract, have emails, because when you commit all of your conversations and negotiations to emails, you have evidence of what you talked about. And one of my favorite tips is, after you have a phone call, send a follow-up email. Hey, Joanne, great phone call. These are the things we talked about. So now you have a record that's in writing. If you found this video helpful, I would definitely appreciate a thumbs up that tells the algorithm to, push it out to other people and maybe they can get help in the land of sampling. I appreciate you. I release videos every week to help you with your music career, your music business. So don't forget to subscribe.